If you are planning a trip to China and are a little bit worried about the Great Chinese Firewall, then this video is for you, because I'm gonna cover in detail what you have to do beforehand and how you can stay connected with the internet as you know it without any troubles, and how you reach out to your friends and family outside of China. So I wanna save you all the hassle and pack it all into this video. If you're new to this topic and don't know what the firewall is, what the VPN is, basically inside China, they operate the Great Chinese Firewall. And that is a way of the government to control which sites they can access and which sites they cannot access. If you're interested which apps will be blocked, I'll give you a link down below to check out which website they block in China. But the main ones are Google, WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Netflix, Crunchyroll, also major news outlets, even Wikipedia. But I also have some good news, because some, to me, surprising apps as an Apple user was that most of the native Apple apps, they work. So actually Apple Maps works, iMessage works, FaceTime works, even Apple Mail. So you can use all of these things just normally without any restrictions in China. So, and Safari itself as a browser, it works, but you cannot access the Google part. So you would have to know the exact URL of the site that you want to access, and you can type it in Safari and you will be able to access it. You will just not be able to just Google for it and expect Google to return your search query. So you will have to have the exact URL, the exact internet address of whatever you want to access, and it will work. So if you're not an Apple user, then you unfortunately have to get a VPN or an eSIM. And now already let's talk about the special eSIM I mentioned earlier. So I found out that you can get an eSIM from trip.com, and this thing bypasses the firewall. I think it's based in Hong Kong and it has roaming in China. So you can use it all the time when you're in mainland China. And it does not go through the firewall, so it is not restricted, and you can access all the apps that you need at any time without the use of a VPN. So just by getting that eSIM, I have a link below that you can check out. And yeah, by buying this, you will be all set and technically don't even need a VPN, but you only get as much data as you buy. And because of this trip.com eSIM, we were able to literally connect to the internet as soon as we landed. Still on the runway, we could connect to the internet without restrictions. So that was really a lifesaver and a tip that I would have loved to have the first time I went there, so I wouldn't have had to spend 2 days on figuring how to get back online. And now let's talk about the actual VPNs. The VPN is a virtual private network which lets you pretend that you're in a different country. So you can just switch your location to a different country, and then Chinese firewall does know you're in China. That's the theory behind it. Sometimes it still knows you're in China, but we'll get to that. So I personally have tested 2 providers. That was NordVPN and Surfshark. And to just let you know right away, NordVPN outperformed Surfshark by far. So with NordVPN, we had a really good time staying connected, and it just had sometimes connection issues and the initial connection issue. But Surfshark continuously kicked us out, and we had a really hard time connecting when being on Wi-Fi. It was almost impossible while using Wi-Fi. On the other hand, NordVPN really let us also connect while you were on Wi-Fi. So if I would go to China again, I would 100% get NordVPN again. And one thing that I really like about NordVPN is that with one subscription, you can cover currently up to 10 devices. So if you travel with your family to China, maybe one subscription is enough to cover all the phones and computers that you bring. You just have to make sure that each device has the VPN installed. And if you decide to get NordVPN, it would mean so much to me if you use our link below, because at absolutely no extra cost to you, your purchase would support this channel with a small amount. So you have to make sure that you download the VPN before you enter China. The best scenario is if you're still at home, you download everything, you get your subscription, you make sure that it works, you test it out at home so that you can be certain that it generally works. In reality, even if it works at home, it's not guaranteed that it will work in China immediately. So there's actually no VPN out there at all that works 100% guaranteed at all times, because the firewall is also always improving and trying to detect VPNs. But They work most of the time, and NordVPN for me was very reliable. And there's some specific settings that you should change before you arrive so you have the best way possible. Because as you might have thought, you cannot just download it within China unless you have that eSIM I told you about earlier that bypasses the firewall and you can download anything you want. Sometimes the normal locations that you can click in the app are not working in China. So for example, for NordVPN, I had to contact the customer service, tell them that I'm in China, I'm having troubles connecting, and then they sent me manual codes to put in. So manual IP addresses that I had to test out, and they gave me 20, and I went down the list from top to bottom, and guess which one worked? No, not 18, not 19, number 20. So literally the last one worked, and you can guess how frustrated and scared I was because I kept going, putting in all those IP addresses and none of them worked. And the last one, can you imagine? Like, what are the odds? The last one works, and that one was great. It worked for many days continuously and never kicked me out. Didn't matter if I was on public Wi-Fi, on hotel Wi-Fi, or on my Chinese SIM. I will also link the step-by-step tutorial what to do on your computer or your phone to be best prepared if you get NordVPN. If you're traveling with a group and are thinking if you can share a VPN connection, no, you cannot. Each device actually needs its own setup. So if you travel with multiple devices, each of them have to have the VPN downloaded. So when you use the eSIM, you can give the hotspot and it's still the unrestricted eSIM that gives the internet connection. So if you share a hotspot from your Trip.com eSIM, then you can also access with all your other devices. Now, if you're interested about the, in my opinion, perfect setup to travel to China, at least that's what we did on our last trip, and we had no second of disconnection because we just had so many backups. So number one, you're gonna need the Trip.com eSIM that bypasses the firewall. That one, you will just have connection anywhere. Then number two, a VPN, because your data on that eSIM is of course limited, and if you get the VPN, you can connect to Wi-Fi and still use the data from the Wi-Fi. So here I recommend NordVPN because we had a better experience with connecting to the Wi-Fi's on NordVPN. I have a link below that you can check out. And number three, that was crucial for us to have an easy time in China. It has not so much to do with connection, but just more like an easy, enjoyable life in China. So, and that is getting a local SIM. And the local SIM, you have to buy it when you're in China. You have to use your passport and everything is registered to you. But there, even sometimes when the connection to the Wi-Fi doesn't work, you can still use your data of your Chinese local SIM and then turn on the VPN. That for us worked much more reliable. And if you, for example, have already Surfshark and don't need to buy a new one, you can still go with Surfshark and just get the local SIM, and then instead of using Wi-Fi, where it sometimes has troubles connecting, you just connect to your normal data from your SIM and you'll be able to turn on the VPN no problem. So with those three things, the Trip.com eSIM, a VPN, and a local SIM, that was our recipe for success to staying connected in China. Now let's talk about some troubleshooting if you've run into problems. Maybe write this down because maybe you cannot access YouTube. Number one, make sure that on NordVPN you have the setting obfuscated servers enabled. It's called no borders mode on Surfshark. Number two, if you're in the hotel and connected to the hotel Wi-Fi and it just will not connect and it will take so many tries to connect, it's very likely that the extra security that they have on Wi-Fi blocks the connection of the VPN. So your best bet is to use your a bug just bit mix. So your best bet is to connect to your hotspot. Number three, because I was so worried that something wouldn't work, I downloaded a free VPN. There's a bunch of free VPNs and I downloaded 4 or 5 of them. And actually, it's one that's called Free VPN really saved me when I first landed to Shenzhen because it helped me to get a few minutes of connection. And that's when I was able to Google the support email of NordVPN and stuff. So yeah, try to get a few other free ones that you don't have to pay for. and maybe that will save you in an emergency. And number 4, if you have actually saved the languages on your Google Translate app, you can still access them even if you don't have a VPN or anything like this. You just have to turn on flight mode. So just cut the connection completely to the internet and you will be able to access your Google Translate downloaded language, no problem. So you will be able to translate back and forth from your language to Mandarin without any troubles. Sometimes if you are connected to the internet with the firewall, you will not be able to access your saved languages. But if you turn on flight mode, then you can access it. Number 5, if you are still worried that you cannot talk to your loved ones, download WeChat and tell your family also to download WeChat, because WeChat is unrestricted in China and people also outside of China can use it. So WeChat is a messaging app. It's a app that you can do so much with, but one thing it can do is message, and you can message to people outside of China. We are now approaching the end of this video, and as a bottom line, it is absolutely manageable to stay connected in China. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, and you're gonna have a great time, I'm sure. I really loved my stay so much, so I really hope you do too. It is also very possible to travel comfortably without knowing any Mandarin. With all the apps that are out there, you will have absolutely no issues. Yeah, it can be a hassle sometimes to stay connected, but with the right measures in place, you will just have a breeze traveling China. And if you want more helpful information about traveling in China, about the trains, about food deliveries, online shopping, and things like that, definitely check out our video up here. It covers which apps are useful to have, how to get around, and just general information on how to comfortably travel China and how to make the best out of it. And yeah, and then that, I say thank you for watching and see you in the next one.